Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why LeBron should be embarrassed by the latest report about his future.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why it's starting to look like the Super Bowl could be Belichick's final game. I believe it. Speak for yourself starts now. You think I'm nuts?
No, I don't.
It's lining up.
Smelling the roses. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by Fox NFL analyst Michael Vick and longtime NFL coach Mike Martz. Let's start with another coach, Bill Belichick, who just hasn't been himself this week. First, the Hoodie King showed up in Minneapolis in a fedora on Monday. And then yesterday, he actually seemed happy to be dealing with reporters at his press conference.
Offensive line obviously doesn't get a lot of press, fantasy points.
Lest things go bad, that's right.
There you go.
Certainly Mike got the best of the Chad Johnson trade. Still waiting for payback on that, but I don't think that's coming.
Coach Patrick Izumi from German TV Pro7. Now, a key matchup will be probably Patrick Chung against Zach Ertz. Do you have any plans of providing some help with him?
It's the first time I've been asked the question by a German reporter that wasn't about Sebastian Vollmer.
Can I get 4 tickets to the game this weekend?
Put you on the list, yeah?
I can pay.
Yeah.
Or here.
On a 50, right? Yeah, gotcha.
Cowherd, this is completely out of character. The guy looks like he's smelling the roses.
Yeah.
You think he's retiring?
I think it's a 50-50 proposition. Tom's not going anywhere. His brand is age defiance. Tom's not going anywhere, and he's still great. There's 3 things Bill did, and they're just not Bill. First of all, he has no succession plan at quarterback. He gave away both Garoppolo and Brissett, and I thought under market value. Second of all, he's made calls on behalf of coordinators and almost promoted them. They're talking now to the press. That's generally not Bill's thing. Keep it quiet, don't talk. They're all over the press. And 3 is, he's glib, he's funny, he's laughing, he's at ease. Every mystery leaves you clues. And you look back and you're like, I should have read the tea leaves. It's just, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but man, he has moved off brand 3 different times. And I believe the ESPN story. By the way, the Patriots doubled down on it yesterday when the Kraft family came out and said Tom can quit when he wants to quit. I don't think that sits particularly well with Bill Belichick.
Let's say it doesn't always have to be because it doesn't sit well. It could be, this is my 8th Super Bowl or 9th or whatever it is. I'm about to maybe win my 6th. Why not stick the landing? Why not go out the way John Elway went out as a coach and just walk away? Because, how much more success can you have?
Right.
How much more of a legend? They're going to have to rename the trophy after the guy. What more does he have left to prove? And so, yeah, I think he's letting off all kinds of signs that he's actually going to enjoy this Super Bowl, hope that they win it, but he's going to enjoy it.
Jason, that's what I think. Colin, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Coach is just enjoying this moment. He never really showed a sense of humor in his press conferences, but now he's showing it and he's having fun. I think he wants to just enjoy the moment. And, even if he's looking forward to retirement, and if it's not in the near future, maybe he's saying these are my last couple days, my last days, my last couple games. Had a great career, but I want to enjoy every minute of this Super Bowl, and I'm entertain the media, I'm entertain the fans, entertain the crowd, and just have a good time and go out with a bang. I think he deserves that. It's been a long time coming, and this is something that we like to see.
Well, I don't think there's any question. You see Bill Belichick with a smile on his face, for crying out loud, during a week of preparation for the Super Bowl. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
When we played him down there in his the Super Bowl in '01, the countenance is totally different. Obviously, he's been there many times and won now, so that's different. But like you said, what does he have to prove at this point? Nothing. He's left a legacy that probably nobody will ever even come close to. And it's a grind. Doing what he does is such a grind, and it's so hard, especially when you get to our age, It's hard to keep that. Yeah, it's hard to keep the edge up, I guess. And I can see him stepping away.
The other thing that is interesting to me is Josh McDaniel. Listen, and this sounds horrible, but I think this is what I'm about to say is true for a lot of successful people. They don't forget. He's got a little bit of a grudge. Who
does?
Belichick holds grudges. He and Parcells wouldn't talk forever. He wouldn't trade anybody to Cleveland, by the way. Just this is what's interesting. So there's no succession plan when the coordinators leave. Bill's gone, there's no coach. His footprint's gone. Oh, by the way, there's no succession at quarterback, which he's always had. That's gone. And then he calls Chris Ballard on behalf of Josh McDaniel. So now Josh McDaniel has Andrew Luck. Bill's not stupid.
No.
So
yeah, I see that. I see where you're going. So in other words, when he walks away from this, the cover's bare more or less. You know, the quarterback, the relationship now with Tom Brady doesn't exist anymore. That guy's not there. They've lost the valuable backup that they were really counting on. So, you know, when he moves away from it, the whole thing just drops a whole nother floor now.
That's what it feels like to me.
I want to ask this just from a strategic and impact on the game. Bill breaking character this way, do you think this could have any impact on this game and on his team's mentality?
I don't think so. Because his character and his countenance in those meetings, I'm sure, has not changed a bit. I think what we see away from the practice field and out and about and all these interviews, first of all, I don't know if the players even see these interviews at this point. You know, they're this late in the preparation, you know, they're not looking at all this stuff. They're trying to stay focused. So I don't think it has any bearing on it. I think he's going to be who Bill is, always been, when he steps in front of the team and gets ready.
I think it loosens the guys up to see the press conference of your coach actually smiling, something that he never really does, or we don't know what he does in the team room or the team sessions, film sessions, but we do see him, you know, showing a different form of character, and I think that can help them going into this game. It'll give them some form of momentum.
Last question, because I think you'll find this interesting. If Bill were to retire, what impact would that have on Brady? Would he want to continue? Coordinator's gone. It's a reboot.
It is a reboot, and I think Tom, because of his brand and who he is and his dedication, would continue playing. But I think it would shorten Tom's playing days. Listen, man, it's easy to say, you know, listen, you're going to have battles. You know, Shaq and Kobe, the Beatles, they only last so long. But, you know, every time those players leave, when Shaq left, Kobe missed him. He missed him because he lost a bunch of games. I think Tom would probably go on for a year without him at 41, 42, and then wake up one morning and say, you know, it was so much easier when we were the best schematic team in the league. Listen, the fact that it's lasted 18 years, we should celebrate it.
Absolutely.
Bands don't last 6.
March and Vermeil couldn't get along, 6 months? And they were at each other's throats.
Belichick may be happy now, but he couldn't have been very happy when details surfaced of rifts between himself and Tom Brady and Robert Kraft. Yesterday, Kraft admitted there was tension, but that it was a good thing because, quote, tension helps make great things happen. Whitlock, you buy that tension's good for New England?
Yeah, I think that when we step back, we maybe haven't given Bob Kraft enough credit. He can see, look, you get spoiled by that much success, anybody could lose a little focus. And so by allowing this tension and Brady and Belichick trying to prove who's right, who's more valuable, is Alex Guerrero interfering or whatever, it brought out the competitive instincts in both of these guys, and they ended up back in the Super Bowl. And so I think Bob Kraft is right. When a group of talented people get together that are stubborn and have a vision, there should be some tension. If everybody's getting along and there are no sparks, you probably ain't doing much.
I would say, I mean, Microsoft, you read the stories that Bill Gates and Paul Allen didn't get along. And the movie about Steve Jobs and the engineer there, find me a great, again, I'll go back to a great band. That the Eagles broke up 9 times. Like that's just even a great marriage. If you're authentic with each other, you're battling a couple times a year. You're fighting over money, kids, mortgages, time, responsibilities. I think tension. Michael Jordan punched teammates in the midst of their greatness. Why? Because he had high standards. And if you weren't committing like Mike wanted you to commit, I mean, there are levels of tension too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good tension maybe and maybe unhealthy tension.
I think the tension amongst the players in terms of the pressure in that game is a healthy thing. But the tension in the front office and say, the coaching staff becomes a distraction. I don't know if that helps or not. You know, I think Bill's a genius at keeping his guys focused and getting them at an intense level for a long period of time. I don't know that they need that type of attention. I think it's more of a distraction for them. You know, Bill knows what he's doing, how to get this team ready to play. I don't think they need that extra tension or distraction to help them win a Super Bowl. They've proved they know what they're doing.
And in any form of business, I think from the NFL to outside business, people don't always agree. You may have 3 business partners that's in one entity who can't make the right decisions at the right time, and sometimes it's a little rift. You know, you deal with those type of things, but as long as you handle it internally, so the rest of the guys on the team, the players, you know, the fans, the rift is not created worldwide, then it can be controlled. But you know, sometimes people are not going to agree. I think tension is good, especially for these 3 guys who are all very competent and know how to run this organization. They've been doing it for the last 18 years.
You know, my takeaway was, because you're a journalist and I've worked in the field, more of a talker than a journalist, but by acknowledging there's tension, he was actually acknowledging the ESPN story was correct. He was acknowledging.
There's no question.
But they denied it at first. This story doesn't. That's actually admitting, okay, we got some tension here with Alex Guerrero and.
Listen, Mike, and I'm not being flip when I ask this question. That Rams team, the first Super Bowl team, was one of the greatest teams, offensive teams we've ever seen in football. Dick Vermeil, one of the great offensive minds in football. Mike Martz, one of the great offensive minds in football. There was never.
No, there wasn't any tension. In fact, that's one of the reasons why things went so well. There's a lot of encouraging and he come in check on things, but that didn't exist. You know, they've gotten to where they are over a long period of time without this tension. I don't know that they need that. I think that's old school. I think old coaches always wanted to create tension around things because they think guys would start to take things for granted. I don't think it's in his makeup, Bill Belichick's makeup, to take anything for granted. And I think that the players understand that and adapt that personality. I do think that the tension that would exist would be, okay, look, this might be the end of not only Bill Belichick, but maybe Tom stepping down. We lost both coordinators. They're gone. Yeah. I'm going to be on the roster next year. Neither one of those coordinators are here. Wait, the head coach may not be here. Oh, and then the quarterback may not be here. That's the tension to me.
Yeah. By the way, also, we're dealing with Twitter and social media. There's stories that are you're getting handed as a coach now on your desk, and you're like a player. You know, there's some tension now that exists that didn't exist 15 years ago.
The more we have this conversation, the more I'm starting to think, honestly, Philadelphia has a chance because of what we're talking about. This thing is about to break up.
It's a distraction.
Both coordinators we know are gone. Bill Belichick is running around here acting like, man, I want to enjoy every minute of this. And he's different. It's making me feel like there could be issues.
I think all the tension just comes from Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo getting traded, you know, mid-season. If Belichick was going to continue to coach and continue to run this franchise post-Tom Brady, it would be with Jimmy Garoppolo and those plans. And I think it all started there mid-season, and it just trickled down.
I totally agree with you.
I've been fighting it since that time.
Does it make you feel any different about the Eagles' chances Sunday?
You know, I try to distill everything down to the simplest thing. Brady against Nick Foles. That feels like with 7 minutes in the game, I like my chances. But I think, listen, every Super Bowl they've been in, New England's been in every one, there has been a moment that the opposing team has thought, we got him. There will be a moment late where Philadelphia is like, we got him. You just pray that Belichick and Brady don't have the ball. And that's when the Giants, by the way, won. At the end of the game, Brady didn't have enough time to go and score. Welcome back, Michael Vick, Mike Martz. Here they are. Let's move to Green Bay, where the Packers have made some big changes on the coaching staff so far this offseason, hiring new offensive and defensive coordinators. But Aaron Rodgers just popped up at the Super Bowl and actually expressed disappointment in some of the changes the team's made and how they've made those changes.
Well, my quarterback coach didn't get retained. I thought that was an interesting change, really without consulting me. There's a close connection between quarterback and quarterback coach, and that was an interesting decision.
Woo! Whitlock. Sounds like he's upset about it. Will the coaching shakeup work for Aaron? Do you?
Look, they need a personnel shakeup, and Aaron Rodgers is being a little disingenuous here. I think Van Pelt made it very clear he was looking to go elsewhere. This isn't something where the Packers organization is trying to screw over Aaron Rodgers. Now, and he also needs to take a big picture approach. Mike McCarthy, they gave him a bogus extension. He's got 2 years, but he basically has a 1-year deal. That's not a great place to be hiring assistant coaches from when they know this may be your last shot. And so this Signetti guy that they got to come in and replace again, his resume is not the greatest. But the coach isn't in the best position to go out and get the best and brightest because the organization's not that committed to Mike McCarthy. So there's a lot to unpack here. I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for being disappointed about his supporting cast, personnel-wise on the field. But as it relates to these, coaching situation, I think he's been a little disingenuous.
I'm a big fan of communication and continuity. I don't think Green Bay was great with either. But I've never thought McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers get along. They're different people. One's California cool, slender, dates actresses. The other guy looks like a Chicago cop. He is a bottom guy. He's a bottom guy. He's a football guy. If he walked into your house and said, I got to work on your roof today, you'd be like, all right, Mr. McCarthy. He looks like a guy that does his own yard work. And Aaron Rodgers looks like a guy that works at a modeling agency that hires people to do his yard work. I think they have different personalities. I think Aaron can be a little passive-aggressive. I think Mike's a bottom-line, authentic, in-your-face guy. So it's going to be a relationship to me that they've won a bunch of games and they won a Super Bowl. It's never going to be perfect, and you just got to make it work. And it's never, to me, been Belichick, Brady, or Peyton, Breeze. It's never felt like that to me. That's just my interpretation.
I think you still have to communicate with the quarterback, and when you're making a coaching change, especially at the quarterback coaching position, because that's a guy that you really get to know with the tenure that you had and the time that you have with him. In Atlanta, we had 2 coaching changes, full staff changes.
Yep.
Came and inquired with me about, keeping the quarterback coach. I was able to talk them into keeping them, but they did consult with me, and I really appreciated that because that's the guy that's the liaison between the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. And Coach, you know that. So the bond is different, and you have to be really careful with that because you can ruin some relationships doing it.
Yeah.
Well, there's no question, and I think that Green Bay probably would have liked to keep Van Pelt, but in his mind, he was ready to be a coordinator. And here's Joe comes in and gets the coordinator's job. He didn't get that job, and I'm sure he talked to him about it.
Joe Philbin.
Yes, Joe Philbin wanted that job. And so now he's going to be the quarterback coach for Joe Philbin, who he wanted that job. So the dynamics, it's a little rough and tough, and he didn't feel probably that his career was going to go any further, which if I'm him, Alex, I'm coaching Aaron Rodgers at the Green Bay Packers, I'm going to ride that pony to the finish line, I think,
Yes.
But he didn't see it that way. I get that, but that has nothing to do. To me, that's a whole different, like you said, it's a little disingenuous because I don't believe it's Green Bay pushing him out the door. They just weren't ready for him to be a coordinator. I think he got upset about it and decided he was going to go someplace else.
I'm going to defend Mike McCarthy, too, a little bit, just because, and I love Aaron Rodgers, but he's quirky. I mean, I'm not sure there's any head coach that's going to be BFF with Aaron Rodgers. Again, not taking a shot at Aaron Rodgers. He's falling out with his parents and his family. If he can do that, you can fall out with your head coach a lot easier. And so I'll give Mike McCarthy credit. He's managed this relationship for a long time and done a pretty good job with it. So, if Aaron Rodgers isn't happy at the moment, it doesn't mean come July when it's time to report to camp, he could be on board depending on what they do with the personnel.
Well, let's also look. Star quarterbacks. Big Ben and Tomlin have had issues. Haley just got fired. Belichick, Brady, read the ESPN article. Now you got Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy. At some point, Pete Carroll wasn't sure he wanted to resign Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins didn't like his staff. Listen, this is tough. These quarterbacks, they're the highest paid guy in a salary cap league, and the coaches, there's a basic insecurity with coaches because you're about an hour away at a bad call from getting canned. Yeah. These are tough relationships.
The hardest relationship is the coordinator and that quarterback. If he's not a quarterback guy, it's very, very difficult. And that's why having that quarterback coach be a buffer and understand that's why it would have been valuable to keep him. So that there's an interpretation that goes on between the coordinator and the game plan and how he gets put in with the quarterback, and it's got to go smooth. It can't have any glitches, and that's why that position is so important.
I think Aaron Rodgers needs to be patient with this decision, too, because they may be doing what's in the best interest for Aaron Rodgers and the team. Sometimes as players, we don't see everything and we don't know everything, and that's why we have coaches around us that can make decisions for us.
You know, it's funny. I defended Aaron on radio today. I'm like, you know, they didn't retain some of his own linemen. They didn't retain. A couple years ago, he just said keep Jared Cook, the tight end. They didn't. They've let some good corners go. But you know, to your point, I've had his brother criticized him, a parent criticized him, Jermichael Finley criticized him, our friend Greg Jennings has. I do think it's fair to say Aaron can be prickly.
He's tough. He's tough. Look, a lot of these coaches don't know what the hell they're doing. Seriously, I mean, just think it through.
That's true.
They don't know what they're doing. A guy had Kurt Warner sitting on the bench behind Trent Green. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Welcome back. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Eddie House and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to LeBron James, whose future has been the subject of a ton of speculation in recent weeks. The latest centered around a report that is almost too strange to believe. It states LeBron would listen to a pitch from his hated rival, the Warriors, if a max contract was on the table. Kevin Durant was asked about the report today.
What was the first thing that went through your mind when you saw that? But, you know, in this league, you know, just like a couple years ago, me coming here, nobody would have thought that. So this part of me as a basketball player, that's just like, let's just worry about basketball. And then on the other side, we know this is business as well, and a lot of crazy things have happened since I've been in the league, and a lot of, you know, even when years in the future, there's going to be even crazier things that's going to happen.
Cowherd, there's nothing about this I like. Flirting with the Warriors is a bad look, yes or no?
Of course not. He's planting seeds. He wants the narrative out there. He wants general managers and the Warriors to know everything's on the table. I think retirement is on the table. I think he'd step back for a year. He'd come back. I think everything's on the table, and this is just a way to
He would step away from basketball
for 1 year.
And then come back.
And let the stuff sort it. So I think everything's. I think the Lakers are. I think the Warriors are. I think Houston is. I think Cleveland is. And I think 5%.
So you think he put this out there?
Absolutely. I think somebody in his group. By the way, why would the Warriors put this out there and tick off?
I didn't say the Warriors, but I mean.
Well, who?
I don't know.
That sounds like what LeBron's doing is, I'm just going to have you guys talk about it for a couple days. I want every GM to know I would even go to the Warriors. Maybe take less. Everything Dan Gilbert is on the table.
I agree with that. And again, I'll go back to the conversation we had yesterday and earlier this week. The Clippers certainly believe that and have made some moves so they can be in that sweepstakes. But to me, if I'm LeBron James, I don't go. This is the nuclear option. When you attach your name in any way that you would be cowardly enough to go to the Warriors.
Cowardly.
If he went to the Warriors, I would lose all respect for LeBron James. No way his name should be attached to this rumor. I'd rather have rumors about Sacramento than the Golden State Warriors. I would puke if this happened, and it would just be terrible.
But I like the fact that you brought up yesterday, because yesterday we had the question, would he get traded?
Yeah.
Would he waive his no-trade clause? He might waive his no-trade clause if he was going to the Golden State Warriors. But they have to do a whole lot they have to basically deplete the whole team. And that's not going to happen.
He's put it in the air.
Well, he did it because he know we're going to run wild with it. That's all it is. It takes a little attention off of how bad they're playing
there you go.
as a team. So he throws that out there. He throws a little rock and lets everybody go crazy when
He's not doing
when
it
breaks
for
glass.
us. I think he's doing it every owner, executive in the NBA. I'm out here, baby. Come get me.
That's what I think he's doing.
Well,
I really
Whitlock,
do.
what if this is how you could look at it? What if he's doing this as a signal to his own owner, Dan Gilbert? Hey, Dan, our culture is messed up, okay? These guys don't like each other. Isaiah Thomas is complaining. I want a good culture here. I actually want to stay in Cleveland. Look what the Warriors are doing. Look what the culture is there. Last week it was the Houston Rockets, remember? What if LeBron's putting this stuff out there? Because he's saying, look what the Rockets have done. They got rid of Dwight Howard and bing, bang, boom, they're a 60-win team. Look at what the Warriors have done. They've built the best culture. Everybody wants to play there. Why can't you do it here, Dan? Trade that Nets pick. Do something.
Well, the Warriors actually did that through the draft. By good drafting and getting a few free agents, but pretty much it was all through the draft. They drafted Clay, they drafted Dre, they drafted Steph, and then they added KD, they added Iguodala.
Yeah.
That's what they. That's
let me add
that's the culture that they built.
Let me add something.
Go ahead.
They allowed themselves to be coached as well, which LeBron has always had a problem with.
Well, they were extremely well coached. When you look at, you had Mark Jackson first, and then Steve Kerr came and picked up where Mark Jackson was kind of lacking a little bit with the offense and stuff like that. The defense was set. All Steve Kerr had to do was have them believe in the offense and believe in them. They're a team that it looks perfect for LeBron if he wanted to go there, because that's the kind of culture that he wants to play in. But
no, he doesn't.
It's not going to happen.
He doesn't.
By the way, so let's just think of LeBron's career. He inherited Cleveland, awful, and made the best of it.
Oh, he didn't want to play in Cleveland, did he?
No, I'm saying, but he didn't have any good players. A little bit of a burden. He had to carry him. Then he goes to Miami, which, by the way, wasn't good until he got there. They were on the downward trend.
Wasn't good.
Well, they had been.
Wade would like to smite you right now.
And then he goes back to Cleveland, where Kyrie had been an often injured diva. Let's not pretend like if he went to Golden State that he's always gone to the easiest route. Well, LeBron's always gone the easiest route.
Going to play with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, yeah, that was the easy route.
Okay, so
I want to go back to your point, though.
I want to add something. Yeah.
This whole thing of it's on Dan Gilbert.
It is. He's the only one that can make the team better. He traded Kyrie Irving.
Sell the team.
Come on. He's out there scouting Trae Young at Oklahoma.
And
he's going to sell the team.
LeBron creates the culture. Let's don't act like Dan Gilbert or Mickey Arison create the culture.
You don't think it's a trickle down? Bob Kraft to Bill Belichick.
That's football.
To Tom Brady.
Jump to football. We're talking
if
basketball.
LeBron went to Golden State and they trade Klay Thompson, you would be what?
Well, there's no way they're doing that, Colin.
You'd be offended.
I would be offended. It would diminish LeBron. I have a great deal of respect for LeBron. I really do. I like you. But if he went, he's already stolen some championships in Miami, and we were good with that. If he goes and plays with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, this whole culture of basketball, when Duke gets the top 3 players in the country, that offends me. And it makes me look at these millennials and like, man, y'all weak. The top 3, when it used to be if I was number 3, let me go somewhere and prove that I'm number 1. Now these guys the 1, 2, 3 players all go play together.
But they don't have to do that. They don't have to do that in college basketball. They don't have to. They do that in high school. That's when they get their rankings. They do it in high school and AAU. That's when they go against each other.
And it's happening in the NBA.
But you want to form the best team you can at the end of the day.
He wants to hang out with Dwayne Wade.
Right.
He wants to hang out with Udonis Haslem.
In college, why don't the recruiters step their game up and get some of them guys?
All right, to Blake Griffin, who addressed the media yesterday for the first time since being traded to Detroit and admitted that he actually found out about the move the same way everybody else did.
You know what? Basketball is a business. The NBA is a business, and they made a decision. The only thing I just wish I had known or had the opportunity to talk to somebody beforehand. You know, finding out through Twitter, through other people is a tough way to find out when you've been with a franchise for so long.
Whitlock, do you blame Blake Griffin for being a little upset there?
I don't think he was a little upset. I think he was a little factual. That, hey, yeah, I would have liked to have heard and not be texted. I saw this over Twitter. He's like, I've been traded. I don't think he's bitter. I think he's factual. I don't think the Clippers are to blame. It's the world we live in.
Yeah.
News travels so fast that it's hard to keep up with it. And so these agents and the leagues have these relationships with these reporters where there's the quid pro quo, that you provide the information and I'll provide you information in return. And so the priority for the organizations a lot of times is to make sure that Adrian Wojnarowski or whoever the reporter is has the information immediately. And I'm sure they wanted to get to Blake in as timely a fashion as they could, but news just travels so fast now.
By the way, LeBron signed shorter contracts, so this stuff doesn't happen to him. Blake wanted the money. He wanted the money, and listen, I get it. But, I mean, LeBron, he won't sign these long deals, and, I mean,
He's been injured, so I don't blame Blake.
I mean, but my takeaway on Blake is I'm not a big believer in the word deserve. You earn. He's been hurt a lot. He punched a member of the staff. He's been difficult. Some guys don't.
$171 million too. I'm not crying for a guy with $171 million.
No. I think Blake is the chemistry was never good. Blake was partly to blame. I mean, they gave him a fortune, and an hour later he's on TMZ dating some Jenner. I think they're disappointed in Blake.
I get a $171 million contract. I'm gonna date a Jenner too, or a Kardashian.
But let's look at it from this point of view. Let's say that the Clippers went to Blake Griffin and said, "Hey, Blake, just so you know, we're going to be looking to trade you." What would the reaction be? Blake Griffin would have freaked out. You guys just paid me, and now you're going to trade me? It wouldn't have helped at all. Eddie, if you're on the team and the owner comes and says, "Yeah, we're looking to put you in trade talks," I mean, your head mentally is going to go to a place you don't want to be. It would not have helped at all.
It wouldn't bother me that much because it is a business. You have to, and I'll give you an example of what happened with me when I was in Boston, got traded to New York. Doc, we were getting off for shoot around. Doc stopped me on the bus and said, "Hey, we're almost done with this deal. We're going to trade you to New York. We're getting Nate Robinson back. Do you want to come practice?" Now, I could easily have been like, "No, I'm not going to come back." I'm like, you know what? The deal's not done. I'm going to take care of my business. I'm going to prepare like I'm going to play tomorrow. And if I get traded, if the deal goes through, then I'm not. But I still got my work in today, and that's it. And I'll be prepared for the game if the trade doesn't go through. So if you're a professional, you understand that's the business side. Now, if they expect us to be professional, I also expect the organization to be professional. And if you are trading somebody, you should reach out and talk to him. The same way that Jay Kidd didn't find out, he found out through Giannis that he was fired. Now, the organization holds you to a certain standard and say, hey, you're supposed to be professional and represent this organization. Well, then why can't they represent the organization in the proper way and reached out and say, hey, man, you know what? This is what we're going to do. This is how we're moving.
There's always layers to it. You brought Jay Kidd into this. There's always layers to it. The ownership in Milwaukee, they're friends with Jason Kidd. You can't tell me there wasn't some discussion going on.
Jay Kidd said it wasn't.
There had to be something going on where he knew his job was on the line. But there's so much history between those two guys. There had to be something. As it relates to Blake Griffin, again, you're never going to tell a guy, particularly of his stature, we're thinking about trading you. Should they have let him know, hey, we just traded you? Again, I guarantee you it was their intention. It's just the news traveled so far, so fast that they just didn't have a chance.
You know what the Clippers deserve is Blake Griffin to average more points and rebounds than he did this year as his rookie year. You know he hasn't improved at all. His stats are like this. I mean, the guy has not developed the three-point shot.
And they're damn good stats,
Yeah,
though.
but Eddie, come on. He was doing that when he was 22 years old.
It doesn't matter. They're damn good stats.
Where's the three-point shot, Eddie?
He doesn't have to have a three-point shot.
Everybody else is developing one.
Not everybody has a
power
three-point
forwards.
shot.
I mean, you got to
every power forward has three-point shot. So you telling me Boogie Cousins has a great three-point shot? It's not great. Do you want him to shoot low 30% when he could get a little closer and take a 15-foot shot that's way more efficient?
Well, the math
that's
says give
more
me threes,
knockdown?
Eddie. The math says
like that.